Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the playthrough. When you're seeing this it will be Easter, so happy Easter. I started off day 15 by harvesting the hops and the corn and some hot peppers. I did end up saving one piece of corn and then the 3 gold quality for the community center. I then collected the copper from the furnaces and smelted some more. I then started to clean up some of the acorns so I didn't have any random trees growing around the farm. And then I started watering all my crops. After that, I smelted some more copper, said hi to Nova, and then went to check on the bat cave. The coop and the chickens. And then I made my way to the community center to donate a duck egg, a piece of corn, and a blueberry, finishing the summer crops bundle, which got me a quality sprinkler. I then checked the crafts room to see if I had anything, in which I did not. Then I donated a sea urchin in the dye bundle. And then I ended up going to the blacksmith's and opened up the 2 geodes I had and the 1 mystery box. I did already have 2 artifacts that I needed to donate, so I headed to the museum. Then I made my way back to the farm, cleared out my inventory, placed the sprinkler down, collected some pine tar off of the tree, and then I decided to clear the farm for the rest of the night. I did end up running out of energy around 10:30, so I just decided to not continue on. I then cleared my inventory, smelted some more copper ore, and then called it a night. I did end up earning 1,885 gold that day. On the morning of day 16, I harvest hops and the two tomatoes. I watered all my crops. I smelted some quartz so I could make sprinklers. Then I went and checked the bat cave. The chickens, ducks, and cows, which I did end up deciding that it was time to make cheese presses. I made one of those and then put it in the barn. And I made my way down to the beach to collect some forageables. I ended up getting a couple rainbow shells and a few coral and a clam. I then made my way up to the mountains to fish. I did end up fishing for the rest of the night here. I headed back to the farm, sold off all the fish, except the sturgeon. Planted 2 Sasquatch seeds down. Cleared out my inventory. Grabbed my tools back. And ended up calling it a night. I did end up making 5,039 gold that night. On the morning of day 17, it was raining. I said good morning to Nova, harvested the hop, and then went to check on the bat cave, the coop, and the barn. I did end up getting a piece of cheese today, so I did save it for the artisan bundle. I then headed down to Marnie's. I ran into Marnie having a conversation with Shane. I ended up talking to Shane. I did end up also purchasing a goat while I was down here. That's what I came here to do. And I named it Goat. I then headed down to the beach, collected a rainbow shell, and started fishing in the ocean. I did think I needed a red snapper while I was down here, but I actually didn't. But I made my way to the community center to donate the sturgeon. And that's when I realized I already had the red snapper. I then checked the bulletin board. It didn't have anything interesting. I then made my way to Gus's to buy a pizza for Sam. I ended up waiting outside of Sam's room until he came out to give him his birthday gift. I then went back to the farm, organized my inventory a little bit, sold some stuff off. Then I ended up heading to the mountains to fish for the rest of the day. I then made my way back to the farm, sold all the fish I caught, and then called it a night. I did end up making 3,849 gold that night. On the morning of day 18, my blueberries were ready. And some hot peppers. I did end up collecting the battery packs from the lightning rods from yesterday's rain. I also collected some oak resin. I then watered the rest of my crops. Then I went to check the bat cave, the coop, and the barn. And I was trying to think of what to do today. So I ended up just deciding to go ahead and fish in the mountains for the rest of the day. There was some bubbles up there when I first got up there. I did end up running out of energy around 7, so I decided to head back to the farm. I then sold off all the fish, organized my inventory, grabbed my tools back, and called it a night. I ended up making 7,235 gold that night. On the morning of day 19, more of the corn was ready. I did end up getting enough for the 5 quality crops for the corn. Then I decided to make a tapper for the one tree that didn't have one, and then I watered my crops. Then I grabbed everything that I could donate to the community center. Then I checked on the bats. The coop in the barn. Headed up to the mountains to give Demetrius a birthday gift. Then I made my way down to the traveling merchant to check to see if she had anything I needed. And what she didn't. I did end up making my way to the beach, and I ran into Alex. And then I also ran into Sam. I then checked the bulletin board and then made my way to the community center. I donated the 5 quality corn, getting me a preserve jar. I donated a piece of cheese. I donated a pine tar. Getting me 5 Autumn's Bounty. In the bulletin board, I donated an oak resin, a maple syrup, and a chub. I then made my way to Clint's to have him open some geodes and mystery boxes. I did end up having a few things to donate, so I went to the museum and did so. Then I headed back to the farm, sold off some of the things I didn't need, organized my inventory, and then I ended up deciding to call it a night early. I did end up making 1,751 gold that night. On the morning of day 20, my summer crops were ready. I did learn how to make a fried mushroom from Demetrius, and then I also picked up a quest to bring him a melon. I harvested some of the oak resin that was ready, said hi to Nova, checked the bat cave, checked on the chickens, ducks, and goats and cows. Sold off the duck mayo and cheese. Then I decided I was going to fish today. So I headed up to the mountains. Where I actually caught a trout and got a golden tag. I forgot today was the trout derby, so I made my way down to the river to go fish there. I did end up ending off with 9 tags, so I got my rewards with the guy in the tent. I did end up having a really full inventory, so I kind of threw some of the things out I didn't need. But I went back to the farm, sold off all the fish I caught, put down the crab pot that I got as a reward, put the rest of my stuff in the chest, put my new trout mount that I got on the wall. I ended up leveling 9 in fishing, and I ended up making 5,968 gold that night. On the morning of day 21, it was raining and the Queen of Sauce was on TV, and I learned how to make a maki roll. I ended up checking the bat cave, the coop in the barn, I did end up making a few more mayo machines, so I had enough between the chicken eggs and the duck eggs. So I went ahead and put those in the coop. I did get a crayfish from the crab pot that I placed last night, which I need for the community center. So then I went ahead and put another piece of bait in there. and then I made my way down back to the river for the trout derby. I wasn't as lucky as I was yesterday. I only ended up getting 3 tags before it was too late. But I did cash those in for a few prizes. And then I went back home, a sprinkler down, sold off all the fish I had caught, organized my inventory, and then I ended up calling it a night. I did only end up making 4,076 gold that night. Thank you for watching this week's video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! See you in the next one.